Officine Gặp, which is behind the idea for crafting a sonic city, and Marco Yanes is the founder of Home Studios, and is the artist
Hi, everyone.
Behind the sound installation. And thank you for coming today. So before starting or saying anything about the project, I would like you to watch a 40-second clip from a video. I think most of you know this singer, probably. And I think she was quite inspirational for this project. I think she was able to identify cultural features of Vietnamese cities by using a sentence that is used by sellers to buy metal scrapes, and I think she was able to see the beauty of this and to turn it into a melody or a song. And this is a bit what we experience when we start to think about this project. And crafting a sonic city is a cross-disciplinary project that we hope to be long-term. And it started with the idea to use sounds and noises in urban environments, especially with a focus on Saigon and Hanoi, as tools for city developers, policymakers, or in general urban designers and architects to better understand urban spaces and social interactions. And also it started with the idea to reframe the concept of noise. So when it comes to urban soundscapes, so the combination of sounds that are part of our cities, usually policymakers and architects or urban designers seek to cancel noises. Is considered something that disturbs you, and is also considered something that is also considered something that is problematic from a health point of view, while our starting point in the research and also in the sound exhibition was to reframe the concept of noise as something that is actually can be not just an annoyance, but is something that is related to memories, to your cultural identity and the identity of a place, and also noise as something that constitutes, in a sense, the intangible heritage of a place. For example, I think street vendors, food vendors are a clear example, and they use songs or nowadays recorded voice that actually are very unique to cities in Vietnam. And Yuri and I are from Italy, and we had something similar in Italy, and unfortunately has completely disappeared. They just don't exist anymore. And that is a factor that can tell us more about how the job market has changed, how a space has changed, or the social interaction have changed in an area of a city. And also we started from the idea of noise as something that can be similar to material, something materic, And this was the starting point for Marco to use noises and urban sounds as a creative material to compose the sound exhibition.
Yeah, I will add something about this classification and this act that we did about reframing noise. The last 2 points, noise as culturally charged. We worked a lot on that. We interviewed different professionals, a PhD researcher from RMIT University, urbanist and an architect, and we read a lot of other research regarding soundscape, and what we learned and we discover is that what is noise for us is not noise for everybody. And what I mean is that if you grow up in a culture surrounded by a lot of noise, if you grow up in a big city, you become familiar with those noise. You are able to recognize them very well and are not an element of disturbance anymore, or at least are not so disturbing to you compared to a person coming from a much quiet environment like the countryside or another country. So we attribute the definition of noise based on our culture, based on the place where we grow up. And finally, noise as indicator. What we mean by noise as indicator is that you already say something about that, but by analyzing noise in the city, so the soundscape of the city, we may have an additional tool for policymakers and for city makers to analyze what's happening in the city, and with processes that sound practitioners used, like sound mapping, sound recording. We can create an archive of noise over time, so we can analyze how the noise, how the soundscape of the city is changing, and this is an indicator of something happening in the city. So, as Afra mentioned, changement in the social and economic environment of the city, because soundscape is just the product of whatever happened in the city, all the human creation, nature, and other noises, natural noises. We missed something regarding this, Afra? Memory, identity.
And maybe to understand a bit more the project, crafting a sonic city is part of a broader vision to try to find alternative approaches to usual urban design and city development. And we think that especially in cities such as Saigon that are so fast developing, it can be very hard to just use traditional ways of representation or analysis of urban development and urban areas. And we found that sometimes these traditional approaches fail to show the complexity of cities, especially such as Saigon. And so crafting a sonic city is part of the idea to apply art and creativity to traditional city making.
And of course, this big first step that we did thanks to Vietnam Festival of Creativity and Design is a combination of our research and the sound exhibition by Marco, and is presented together in the output you have been able to hear and see here, or maybe one of you in Hanoi as well. Yeah.
And also a big part of the project was to publish a public survey open to everyone, to the general public, with questions related to the soundscape of Hanoi and Saigon. And it was very interesting because we thought people will focus more on noises, so traffic and motorbikes and scooters honking, but actually people focus much more on noises that recall memories or noises that are already present or sounds that are already present in both cities, but simply cannot be heard probably during the day because of traffic or they are disappearing. And I think this is probably one of the most beautiful answers that we had regarding what noises and what sounds was positively associated with positive feelings in this case is in Hanoi. And very often the reply were voices of people because you feel familiar with a space, if there is like a human voice, a human type of sound, but also, of course, nature and animals, sounds coming from street vendors because they're considered to be very unique, and of course they change in Hanoi and Saigon. They are different because of different accent and pronunciation. And one was very interesting, referring to like old buildings, Tunku, and this person grew up there, and so it was used to hear like, kids playing, and this is considered again a noise that is disappearing because most of these buildings have been demolished, unfortunately.
Yeah, and here is part of the process to create the sound exhibition. I let the word to Marco about it. What do you think?
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, from the beginning of this project was clear that the importance and the role of the sound that we are talking, you know, was a journey that starts from the idea of Officine Gặp and start to understand how we can live this experience, you know, and we start to ask questions and talk with the Blind People Association for first. So this was our first big experience, and asking them what for them was the importance of the sound for people that they usually, you know, not have other senses, so they just focus on sound, on noise, and was a big part of the project because they show us something that we didn't expect. You know, they was talking about wind. They was talking about some kind of sound that was not for us like something that was expected. You know, so from this we understand how many sound and noise are in the city that we usually not hear. So we start, and we use a microphone. We bought a microphone recording, and we start to discover the city deeply, going in places that normally we just pass by. We just, you know, in the normally day life, we surrounded by the noise that we are used to listen, like motorbike, like construction, like, but the city have more to give. Is beautiful how many different noise and different sound the city can have to give to all of us, but we just not have time to go there and find them. So the experience start to try to go deep and understand how important are the sound in the city, even we don't never like used to listen them. So Hanoi project and Saigon project are two different feelings, you know, are completely different, because Hanoi we record in the daytime, so we start recording around 5 a.m. till the first hour of afternoon. So is a wake up of a city that usually is really noisy, you know, is traffic, is a seller city, you know, everyone make business and you know, for who don't wake up really early, maybe most of people miss a really important part of Hanoi, that is how Hanoian people live these 2-3 hours of early morning and in a quiet space, like a garden, making exercise, play local game, you know, and so they have this kind of time that they help them to start the busy day, you know. And so we went there to discover all this place. It was amazing to see that you also find peace. It's not just noisy, you know. We have space, for example, Sunday in Hanoi, Saturday and Sunday, we have Hoan Kiem Lake, that is a place that is a walking street in these days. So we find there, like, people play guitar in the recording, all these recordings are there, so some kind of different feelings. So we didn't want force and talk just about the noise of the traffic, because it's not that important. It's there already, you know. It's something that we are used to live, and it's part of the city. I cannot imagine a city like Hanoi or Saigon without this feeling, this deep stress that, of course, sometimes can stress you, but it's also part of the, you know, of the adventure of the day. I mean, for us, foreigner, come here is a big impact. Okay, so I talk about what is experience from us is something that take time to go in, but once you are in, you enjoy this. Personally, I really enjoy the fact that is busy, you know. So from here, from this, we start to record all the sound and collect them and ask which way was the best way to create some kind of story that, you know, give memories. I think Afra and Yuri talked before about this, and memories are, for me, one of the most important part, because after 2 weeks of exhibition, what people give back to us was something that is incredible, you know, because everyone have feeling, you know, good feeling, bad feeling, or emotion that make them remind something. And so this, in the end, was the answer, no? Because in one moment we talk about, I mean, if people ask to us why, you know, or what is the you know, the, how to say, the main important topic of the sound exhibition, of the project in general, we say we don't know. It's not question, like we cannot answer in this question. So, but we try to answer to question in this way, so people experience and remember. Have people that crying, you know, have people that cannot finish because they have some kind of feeling. Someone, like yesterday, some people screaming, you know, but all of this because this emotion. So is in the end for us that was working the sound project, me personally and Robbie Bardwell, that is my partner on this project, was important to keep originality of the sound that we was recording, but give also emotion that, you know, in the way that all the element was there. So you just need to listen, focus, and the way that we cover, you are completely blind is important because we normally in our life now we used to live with visual, so we forget about how to listen sound, and even with music in general, we just hear, you know, but hear and focus on what's going on in music is something that is really change your perspective of and your emotion, no? So this was a really important moment also for people to just, okay, I don't see anything, so forget about phone, forget about what I see, so I just need to focus on what I hear. And yeah, I mean, I think all the project was important to also give this kind of, okay, calm down, just listen. Even when we go to cities, we went around the city to hear sound, okay, with microphone, okay? Some sound you will not hear, we are not here human like, with our hearing, but with microphone was an experience that, wow, like all these sounds are there, but we don't know they are there. So we try to take it back and work in studio, we modify, we add layers in the studio using analog synthesizer and plugins. So it was a combination of traditional sound and original sound, and also a sonic city, so something that is projected a bit on the future, you know, so how this sound can be manipulated to make them like beautiful. They are not anymore noise that disturbing you, but are sound, is actually musically sound, you know, so it's kind of, yeah, it's a beautiful journey, and yeah.
Just to add on to that, I think, I don't know if you have already listened to the Saigon part, but I think Hanoi and Saigon, also in the sound installation, have two different souls. So if you will experience the Saigon part afterwards, just bear in mind that we recorded overnight with Saigon, why we decided in Hanoi to record throughout the day, also to show a bit the different souls of these two cities. And actually overnight we found a completely different city compared to the day. Saigon was very alive, while Marco was saying that Hanoi usually is much quieter after like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., while Saigon has all these very lively corners and stories happening, and their sonic output is what you can find in the installation. And the fact that during the night there were not many noises coming from traffic or motorbikes, it helped us actually to experience, like Marco said, sounds that usually are there during the day, but we are not able to hear them. And also we noticed that of course sounds and noises, they come from like Yuri said, of different functions and economic or social behaviors, and also the way a space is designed. And during the night, especially like in District 1, in the central area, the fact that there was no traffic, people were just like spilling over into the street and using the streets as a kind of informal public spaces, and that informality actually completely changed the soundscape. Very often what we have noticed is that the approach, especially from artists, to this type of topic is to use sounds and noises as raw material and to create a sound installation. And very often the output is to bring new sounds into the city or into a public space. While also in the research we try to move away from that approach and to try to understand how to use, as Yuri said, sound and noises as tools. So sound walking or sound maps are all tools that actually are coming from sonic practices, and they are usually not used by urban designer, architects, or policymakers. And we were wondering what if we include new approaches and methodologies coming, in this case, from sonic practitioner into traditional approaches. So it would be interesting, I think, to see if developers or urban planners would be interested in joining, for example, a sound walk, like we did with this Zoom, which is a very powerful portable recorder, and to see if their approach to a space or to the design of that space or to the policy that are in place for an area of the city will change after hearing like the soundscape of that area. And I think this brings us to like the future that we have for this project. So of course this is a very new field, and is very, very difficult to bring together practitioners from different backgrounds to collaborate, but especially to find applied and practical tools that they can use. And our hope for the future of the project is to further developing the research and working on creating workshops and programs to raise awareness on this topic, and hopefully in the future to use all the results coming from the feedback from the community, the exhibitions, the research as a tools for analyzing urban areas and changes in the city soundscape, and hopefully to open a dialogue with people involved in city makers to diversify the voices of actors that are usually involved into city making.
Yeah, also I was saying to Afra the other day that giving the deserved importance to soundscape, people one day maybe will visit a city, will visit a country, not just to appreciate its landscape but also its soundscape. So maybe one day people will visit Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City to listen to the city and live this unique experience. And I also want to add something regarding what Marco said before, that he didn't try to answer any question with his sound exhibition. I remember that at the beginning of the project, 3 months ago, Marco always called me and asked me, what do I need to do with this recording? I'm scared a little bit what to present, because
I was reading the research and he was saying, do I have to include all the questions that you pose in the research into the sound exhibition?
Yeah.
And my answer has always been absolutely not. Like, I'm glad you're doing this new experience as a sound artist. For him was a new adventure, a new chapter of his life, and I always told him, to me, a good artwork is not something that answers questions, but something that generates questions in people, create questions through this, as Marco said, creation of emotion inside someone. And both Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City Sound Project, you can hear not only the field recordings, but also Marco's soul, Marco's background, a background in electronic music, and you feel that, and that's beautiful, because in my opinion a good artwork should also always speak about the artist, without the artist being there, but it speaks by itself. It speaks about your story. So
Especially the Hanoi one um, was my daily experience in life of, you know, my wake up morning, and so I felt Hanoi really mine, you know. I mean, was clear from beginning that the story was there already, because I just need to, you know, like put out all the moment of the day that are my moment, you know. So with the help of my partner in this project, Rabi, together we put together all these little stories and create something that I think is real. I mean, is real Hanoi, is real Saigon in the same time. We didn't want to force to change anything or add something that was not part of both city. Saigon, the night time was a surprise for us, because we didn't expect that. I mean, personally, I didn't expect Saigon was quiet like this, you know. Some place was busy, but in general was quiet. So was a deep walking through street, was a deep discovering of spaces that yeah, I mean, I the big experience was this, like go deep in sound. And I think is something that everyone we should try, because is, I mean, it's a lot of emotion there already, you know. And it's beautiful how sound and noise, we work in music, and we know how to feel with sound, how to take the sound inside us. It's important to people to try to do that, because we will miss an important part of our life if we don't feel what is there, you know. But sometimes it's just there, and we need to go deep in things, and especially in this kind of project, this is the main things, like take emotion for sound and noise and make them alive, and keeping real, nothing, yeah.
I think if anyone has any question about the process or the exhibition, if you have already had a look or anything related to what we said or the research, please go ahead. There was
Don't be shy, eh?
yeah.
my microphone is coming.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. You actually, he was one of the first to see the project in really beginning. So the project in the beginning was, the idea was to like shut, how to say, like single sound, like projected, like
Single
see, and
sounds
he
instead of
was listening. So yeah, of course we will. I think once we finish the exhibition, we will organize the part of research and the sound together. And of course, this is, like we say, it's just the beginning. So the project will start now, actually.
Yeah, and
So
all the sounds that we have collected in Hanoi and Saigon, each city is more than 74, 78.
in total is around like
sample.
250 or 260 different sounds.
Yeah, so we, of
yeah.
course, all the sounds are not present in the sound installation, but we are creating an archive.
Yeah.
And a part of the long-term project, it would be to create a qualitative sound map of starting from Saigon and moving on with Hanoi. And I think that's very long
that's
and ambitious project.
Yeah, it's a little bit my dream to keep going with these recordings and find someone able to support this sound mapping and go around the cities and record every little sound of Vietnam, street by street, word by word, and create this sound map. Yes.
Actually, in the public survey, some of the answers were, please, can you come to my area and record this sound from this building, or my grandmother cooking, or so. Many of the answers were related to sounds that are disappearing, or people worried about sounds disappearing related to their memories or to the place where they grew up.
Wait. Surprise in which way? In Hanoi, Long Bien Market, I think was really a crazy place. Really like it's a night market, right? So it's really crowded from like midnight till we went there, was like 5 a.m. and was still really busy. And I think 60% of the sound I recorded was there. You know, was really interesting. I mean, you have is a little I don't know space where you can find everything. You have the seller, you have people like, you know, doing business and talking and walking and motorbikes. So it's like everything is there, but in a really deep and underground way. You know, it's like is no joke. You know, it's something serious happened there. You know, it's like is prepare the city to live. You know, selling food. I mean, all the suppliers. So it's an important time for the city. Without this market, I don't know how big he is, but without this kind of place, the cities will not start. So I feel really, I felt really deep. Yeah, I felt like not scared because I mean I like what I'm doing, so I like go deep, but was intense, beautiful intense. And the experience with the recording and with the headphone, you really feel insect. You feel no one care about you. You are the feeling is unique. You hear everything, but you hear everything in a really detailed way, you know. And it's like you are alone. Just no one care about you, and you can literally like invade a bit spaces of other one, because you know I have some people that was ask me what is that, you know, because I mean I you know, but we try to go there really like gentle and respect because people are working, you know, and yeah, for me this was the most like impact space. But in Hanoi project, the project start with a really deep and anxious dog barking and rooster, you know. And this for me is also one of the most important part, because since I'm here since 5 years, the rooster and the dog are following me everywhere. You know, every house I change, every place I change during this 5 years, I always have this rooster behind my window that singing. I mean, I say singing, you know, like now it's become beautiful, but was annoying for I mean, forever. And so I put this rooster like really deep in the beginning because it's what I felt for beginning. So, I mean, like we said before, every sound have memories. This is the beauty of all the projects. So I can tell you all the sound that have special things, but yeah. The one other things maybe was a really old man this Sunday in Hoan play guitar. He was really old, I think really old. And was playing this, is inside the recording, we record him. Was really peaceful and was really Vietnam. You know, I'm not Vietnamese. I love Vietnam. I try to really like, I'm married Vietnamese, so I like the culture, I like the people, and listen, this guy, this man, just make an arpeggio with his guitar, with his friend, really old too, and it was beautiful. It was like, wow, it's not, you know, it's, yeah, it was an experience too, because normally we just running inside the city and have this kind of moment that are unique. So Hoan for me is a unique place, Saturday and Sunday, because you meet and you don't have traffic, so you just focus on people dancing, people like make community, stay there, and just happy, everyone happy. So yeah.
And I think adding on to that, it's very difficult, especially if you live, I don't know, in District 1 or 3 or 5, or in quite central areas in Saigon, to hear a rooster, for example. It's very, like, you have to go maybe in District 2, District 9, or District 7, for example. And in Saigon, I think it was very impressive at night. It was around 3, 4 a.m. And the central square was full of, I call them kids because they were very young, just playing hip-hop music, skating. It was like packed, it was full of young people. And Marco was saying, and also Lee and his wife was saying, oh, it's very difficult to find that, for example, in Hanoi, because their parents will tell them, you have to be home. And it was very beautiful to see, like, all the, even like the streets, so spaces that throughout the day are not public, they were just full of people like cycling and dancing and playing music. So there was overnight this reappropriation of spaces and use them as public spaces. So it was, and that of course created a particular soundscape that during the day is difficult to hear.
Hi, thank you for the work. As a matter of luck, I happened to catch your exhibition in Hanoi last week, and I went with a friend, and she posed a very interesting question. At which point will the sounds be noise pollution? As in, like, you know, there must be a threshold where it affects people's quality of life, right? Where, you know, right now you're seeing it as memories, as indicators of, you know, of cultural indicators. But what about noise pollution? You know, because I was going through your exhibition in Hanoi with my friend, and she said, you know, every day when she goes out into the streets and she rides a motorbike, she feels like she's overwhelmed by all these sounds, you know, all the sensory overload and everything. So, like, you know, at which point do you think that you'll be like the bad sounds, you know, if there's such a thing as bad sounds?
Yes, as we spoke about it in the research, there are two different approaches to measure noise. The traditional approach, which is a quantitative approach, so measure noise in decibels. And if we want to define noise pollution with this quantitative approach, the international safety standard for not becoming hearing impaired is 70 decibel for 24 hours. So you shouldn't be exposed to a higher noise than 70 decibel for longer than 24 hours, or 75 decibel for longer than 8 hours, right, Afra? So of course, when analyzing soundscape of the city and noises, we should be careful to health, even if it's not the focus of our research. Health has been the focus of years and years of policy against noise. So, because noise, of course, disrupts sleep, create problem to hearing. So that 70 decibel is the limit. But in our research, we are interested about qualitative approach. So what is noise pollution in terms of kind of noise? So which noise are noise pollution, which noise are noise, and which other noise are sounds? This is very personal, so everyone, and this is come back to the noise as culturally charged attribution. Noise is noise if for someone is unpleasant, if for someone is something that want to prefer not to hear in that moment. But what for me is unpleasant is different than what is unpleasant for Afra, what is unpleasant for Marco, because maybe I am a lover of traffic noise or of the ambulance sound. So maybe I'm totally in love to hear that sound. So I cannot say that are noise pollution. Noise pollution is something that has been created by policymakers to define noise and trying to control it and expose the fact that, of course, cities are a noisy environment, but that noisy environment, the soundscape of the city, is made of so many elements that each one has a different meaning, each one is part of the culture, and if we try to cancel the noise, we are also in some way canceling the culture of a place. So we have to be careful to the policy, try to canceling noise. For example, there is a good case study in Washington, D.C. There were in the 70s, there was a music movement by the black Afro-American community called go-go music, and was this music singed in the street, kind of drum and bass, and there was a noise complaint, of course. People started to complain, and the government of the Washington, D.C. wanted to call that noise pollution and want to cancel this music from the street and forbid it to be sing in the street, to be played in the street. And there was a very big protest that went internationally and say you can't take out this music from the street, this drum from the street, because it's part of the history of this city. And luckily it survived and is still part of the city. So yeah, I hope is everything.
Yeah, I think just to add to that what Yuri was saying, that when it comes to qualitative type of measurement is very much related to your own tolerance to that noise and your perception of that noise as good or bad, which is a very subjective category.
Thank you for your answer. Just gonna add something at the end, because you said that you were gonna do it for a longer term, the project, you're gonna make it last longer. So I'm very excited to hear what other sounds that you can, especially when it compares, the seasonal changes of Hanoi and Saigon, when like very clear seasonal differences in Hanoi and in Saigon, And I've learned very recently about the concept of micro seasons, as in like you split like a season into even smaller parts to capture the noises or the sounds of that part of time in the year. So I'm really excited to hear that what you can capture in the future. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for your beautiful work in Hanoi and Saigon. My personally that to define the good sounds, maybe we have more comparison. How do you think about the south that another project in the middle of Vietnam, like Hue City or Hoi An City? It's maybe a good chance that we have more comparative comparison between the south, and we can define because we have to gather like archive, like which sound will be good. So we have, because the Hue City is a very old capital city, and Hoi An City is the heritage city. So maybe it will be a good chance for you to have more knowledge about the South.
Yeah, I mean, related to this project, we decided to record Hanoi Saigon because, I mean, they are the the bigger city, and but for future, I mean, of course, I think we should like also record and expand the project in other reality, like you say Hoi An and Hue, or I think every city or every places in Vietnam, like around the world, have something special to take it to. So yeah, I mean, I think in the future, why not?
For now we focus on the Saigon and Hanoi, and I think is a very good input to expand the project, and of course is a type of effort that requires the collaboration of like many different professionals. Also for this project, we are the one here today, but like Lian, Marco's wife, was in this project as well, and the Blind
Rabi.
Association, Rabi, that work on the sound installation with Marco, and many other people, architects and other artists that contribute with like to the research and to the whole project. And in terms of mapping, is a big effort, but for equipment and also like really knowing the city. So I think it's a project where also architects and authorities and like should take part, hopefully.
Hello, thank you for your work. So I'm agree with you that a city with sound is a city with light. And for me, my personal opinion that the sound is made from the movement. Yeah, we move and we make sound. So I want to share my opinion about difference between noise and sound. So every movement makes sound, but the movement in the mindfulness will make the beautiful sound, and the movement with the fear. When people live in FOMO, fear of missing out, they live so fast, so no mindfulness, then they make sound, make a noise, people like this. Yeah. So you can imagine it clearly between noise and sound. Yeah.
I think this also how we have our perception of noise and sound. This is why in both sound project, the, the moment that you feel a bit more anxious or have fear or something strong happens from noise that we normally don't like. So
and also like related to what you said, it's not just related to your own perception of a noise, so what noise and sound are, but also to a person sensitivity towards like other people around you, and like to be cautious about your the level of your voice, or you moving the chair and invading in some way a person, another person space.
yeah, I think we can avoid this kind of noise with more education. I mean, this, I think the education part, if we talk about noise, can be really important. I mean, really important, because what you did, I mean, create noise that can be avoided, you know. But if you know that it's not good to do, you will not do. So I think, yeah, the educational part also is really important for avoid noise. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to ask more on your technique for, I guess, trying to perhaps, I haven't listened to your sounds yet, but maybe, do you have to find, did you find that you have to record many times over to get the sound you want, like trying to extract a noise within the noise?
No. The moment we decided to recording was just following the flow. So every sound we was recording was part of our real journey. So we didn't want go specifically, even was the idea in the beginning to just go to record specific sound, but in the end we decided to just follow what was the real journey that we was living. So every sound, when we back to studio to listen the sound, a lot of sound maybe we didn't use because we're not good, but we try to use what we record in this moment, because it's the only way to have memories and remember exactly what was the emotion that we was living this time. So was one shot. I mean, 2-3 shots in Hanoi, just sorry I say shot, but in Hanoi, just because this Sunday time is unique time. But Saigon, for example, was all night from 2 a.m. to 11, and so, and after that we listen all the sound again, and okay, remember and work what we have.
What's interesting is, like Marco said at the beginning, we all made a list, also Lian, we made a list of, I would like this sound because this is, it reminds me of that place, or so there was like the rain, and it was rainy season here in Saigon, and we didn't catch the rain, for example. Or so at the end we said we should just go with the flow, and just the idea was the day for Hanoi and night for Saigon. And also the recorder that like we use is extremely powerful, so we were able to identify very subtle noises, like the drainage system, or that like you will normally
not hear. Yeah, it's crazy how some sound, when we went back to studio to listen this sound, like wow, like this is real, was some sound that we didn't touch, we just put the, and we work with synthesizer in the studio, so analog machine that able to create sound, electronic sound. And here what we was recording live was, I say, wow, this is already there, we don't need even to touch. So yeah, beautiful journey, for sure.
Thank you. Just to kind of continue on that too, were you walking? Did you walk to different spaces, or did you drive on the motorbike and record?
We walking. Saigon, we completely walking. Hanoi, I take motorbike just to change place because, like I say, Hanoi was more. I knew it was more like places that, you know, was my place already. So yeah. But mostly we walking. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Saigon was we walk. And,
Yeah,
yeah, that's it. Just the last part. When you will listen to the sound exhibition, there is the bus. That is the bus that actually we catch sometimes to go back home from, I don't know if we are in District 3 or 1 and we go back to District 5. And that's the only transport that we took. It was also like, you don't get to walk that much in this city, especially during the day. So it was also a city walk for us, and it was a way, again, like we always say, to reappropriate of some spaces that during the day, even the sidewalk, we cannot really use. So it was, we felt very free.
We sit in the middle of the street, yeah. Like was no one there for a while, and 5 minutes later, we was busier. It was like 6 a.m. and say, wow, 5 minutes before we just chill in the middle of the street, and so it's, yeah.
And we decided to record the sound of the bus actually because many things goes on inside a bus. You hear people talking, you hear the announcement of the bus stop, you hear this big truck engine changing gears, and you have these 3 different sounds coming from different sources, human sources, the machine, and this microphone co-living in the same time, in the same space. And it's quite interesting also that the bus is not very common in Vietnam, maybe, of course, compared to other country in Europe, or the public transport is not very used in Vietnam. Maybe there is not the right infrastructure yet, or maybe it's so convenient to move around with motorbike that if in London or in Milan you have the investment bankers coming out of a bank and taking the bus or the tube, for sure here the investment banker don't take the bus, let's say that. So it is and it's also quite interesting the role that public transport has on the soundscape of the city, because if inside this huge shared transport is a place where many sound co-lives together, the use of public transport itself reduces traffic. And as you may imagine, if you start to studying the soundscape of the city, the sound that cover every other sound at the current state of technology with thermic engine, etc., is the sound of traffic. But if you reduce the sound of traffic with the use of public transport, for example, you will uncover you will discover all the other sounds, even natural sound, birds, wind, people talking, etc. Sounds that are there in the city but are all covered by traffic sound, because there is a large use of private vehicles. That's one of the reasons.
Many thanks for everyone coming here today and have a sharing. I think the sharing is already interesting, and on behalf of the organizer of the Vietnam Festival of Creativity and Design, we really hope that in the future you guys can keep supporting the work from Officine Gặp and home. And we really appreciate any comment, feedback that you can contribute not only into this particular project, but any other one also. So the talk already comes to an end, and many thanks again for all joining us today. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.